back, everyone, from your Memorial Day weekend. Perhaps you were one of the 37 million Americans that traveled over the weekend. Clearly, we all love to travel. Maybe you traveled over the hill to the Bay Area, enjoyed the sights of San Francisco. Maybe went to the wine country, tasted some wine. Maybe you went camping in the mountains, tested out their survival skills. You're able to now report back to Tom how you did. Either way, we all know that Memorial Day is the start of a very busy travel season. I love to travel. I've traveled a lot of places. I like to see new things, get out of my routine, experience new things. So I thought I'd tell you about 3 trips that I've gone on that I really enjoyed. And I've broken them down into 3 different categories. We have the family-oriented trip, the romantic trip, and the adventure trip. I'll start with the family-oriented trip. About a year ago, my family and I went to San Diego, a place that probably many of you are familiar with. And it's a great place to take a family. For me, it was my wife and my 2 girls. And there's so many things to do in San Diego. The food's great, the weather's really nice. And what we did initially is what so many people do when they go to San Diego. We went to 2 of its biggest attractions, the San Diego Zoo and SeaWorld. And at the zoo, we saw giraffes, we saw polar bears, we saw the most popular panda bears. Great things for my 2 little girls to experience and see. At SeaWorld, we went to see the dolphin exhibits, and they did a little show, and my little girls were dismayed when they splashed them with a lot of water. But they got over it, and we went on to see the killer whales, and they did their thing, and we sat up a little bit higher so nobody got splashed. And then beyond those 2 primary tourist places to go, we went and spent some time on the beach at Coronado, which is great for kids. They get to play in the sand and the surf and build sand castles. We went for a bike ride in the neighborhood. San Diego's a great place to take your families. We liked it so much that we're going to go back again this summer. There's your family type of trip. Now there's also the romantic trip. Now, who doesn't like a little romantic trip, some time with your significant other? Well, back years ago, maybe 5 years ago, soon after my oldest daughter was born, my wife and I were in a little bit of shell shock. We were a little overwhelmed with this new baby in our lives, the diaper changes, the sleepless nights, the crying. We needed a break. And we somehow convinced my wife's parents, who live in Mexico City, that they had this unique opportunity to watch our new baby girl. We jetted off to Puerto Vallarta. Now, if you've never been to Puerto Vallarta, it's really, really nice. The weather's warm, it's not too hot, there's lots of things to do, and it's nice and romantic. When we went there, we stayed at a nice hotel, and when we checked in, they immediately gave us both massages, a glass of wine, showed us to our room that looked out over the beautiful Pacific Ocean. It set the tone, perfect for the whole trip. Puerto Vallarta is a great little city to visit. There's lots of things to do. You can walk up and down the boardwalk. We also took quad rides up into the mountains, again looking over the Pacific Ocean. Did some tequila tasting. Lots of fun. And in our downtime, we just enjoyed ourselves at the hotel, a little tent cabana on the beach, and they brought plenty of palomas, delicious drinks if you've never heard of it. Puerto Vallarta was a great romantic trip. That brings me to my adventure-themed trip. Years ago, back before I had kids, back before I had a wife, I was fortunate enough to leave home, leave my life behind me, and travel around the world for a year. I saw many cool places and did some awesome things. One of my favorites, though, was a little place called Nepal. Perhaps you've heard of it. It's tucked right there between China on top and India on the bottom. And it's famous for things like hiking in the Himalayas. And unfortunately, more recently, the horrible earthquakes that have ravaged that country that's already so impoverished. Well, when I went there, I spent about 3 weeks and flew into Kathmandu. And there is a very bustling city of about 1 million people. Lots of cool things to experience there. Lots of tradition and history with Buddhism. A fun city to explore because of all the nooks and crannies that you can get lost in. Kathmandu is a city I recommend you're visiting. That isn't why I went to Nepal, though. It was like so many people, I went there to hike in the mountains. And that's what I did. And what I did is I hired a guide. I wasn't very intrepid, and that's because, one, I didn't speak the language. I don't know the country. And a guide was really pretty cheap. It was $40 for a week-long trek into the Himalayas. He and I set off in a bus up into the mountains to get us to the trailhead. Now this bus was packed with Nepalese locals carrying all their supplies, all their livestock, chickens and goats, packed into this bus, in the bus and on top of the bus, both. And we went up these windy, treacherous, dangerous dirt roads where often I was looking right out the window and straight down 3,000 feet. I really wondered whether I was going to make it to the trailhead. Obviously I did. And from there, we hiked up, up, up into the Himalayas. And hiking up these steep trails, I observed these Nepalese carrying supplies up into the mountains. And they weren't carrying supplies like maybe you'd expect. They had these big baskets, like the size of garbage containers, on their back, not strapped to their shoulders, but strapped across their foreheads. And then they trudged up the mountain. And nothing but flip-flops with these steep, rocky trails. So impressive to see them doing this. Now, along the trek, we stayed at these guest houses that are scattered along the trail. And they're really just the homes of Nepalese, and that's how they make their living. And they give you food and a place to sleep, and often the food was a traditional Nepalese dish of rice and a lentil stew. And it was delicious, and it was good for hiking, gave you a lot of energy. I met lots of people from other countries along the trail. I have a friend now from France that we've spent time in each other's homes, back up me over in France and him here. The Himalayas were an amazing place to visit. Yeah, it was tough hiking in those mountains. They're very steep. We went as high as almost 15,000 feet to get over a pass. So it was really hard work, but it was so worth it because of these amazing, amazing mountains that are nothing like you've ever seen around here that we hiked in. So there's the 3 different types of trips. There's a family trip, the romantic trip, and the adventure trip. And perhaps if you're one of the half of all Americans that are traveling this summer, this will give you some idea of where your